Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Made Of with the unstoppable Mike C-Rock. That's me. I'm in the house and you're unstoppable too, by the way. Just remember that this mission that I'm on has to do with all of you understanding that you're unstoppable to living the life of your dreams. And whatever that means to you, but you got to know that you're unstoppable getting there. And today I have a guest. I had a conversation with him the other day and I'm like, look, man, you got to be on my show. We got to find out what you're made of. And David Brier's here to share with you what he's made of. He's the best-selling author of Brand Intervention and Google's #1 ranked rebranding expert. David's 4 decades of expertise have received over 320 international awards, including the rare honor of being presented the Presidential Ambassador for Global Entrepreneurship Medallion, generating well over $6 billion in sales and revenue for his clients around the world. David, welcome to the show, man.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, dude.
Well, look, hey, so why stop at 320? Are you still going after awards right now?
I'm not. It was a very big driver for me when I started in my career, and some over 4 decades ago. And at a certain point, you go, where am I going to put all these freaking things? It's like,
Yeah.
And so to me, the new awards are not in the form of recognitions and trophies and plaques and shit that I get, but actually the ones that my awards now are, okay, good. That client became a millionaire. That client went from, like a $2 million company to a $10 million company. That client went from startup to billion. Those are my new awards. My new awards are in living form, walking, breathing around the planet.
Love it, man. That's what happens, man. You start doing things for other people and it seems like it exasperates it. It gets bigger. And I love that. Who counted those awards for you, by the way? Did you keep count of those? Were you keeping score or did somebody else count them up for you?
I'll be honest with you. What ended up happening was at a certain point, I started, there was a point at which we were like every year we'd get like we'd win another 25 or 30 awards. And it was almost embarrassing. It was like, this is like ridiculous. And so I ended up just going to hell with it. At a certain point, I just was like, okay, that's fine. And then when we moved our offices, like about 6 years ago, we moved from our office that we had to the office you see behind me. And it was like, I was like, how many boxes of this stuff can this is ridiculous. It's like, I don't even know where to store it. I don't want to just like have shit in boxes. So that was where I basically was like, okay, enough on that. Let me just, that's nice proof. That's a nice legacy. That's nice credibility. Good. Now let me just keep proving it every day with my clients. That's it.
My golf trophies, I kept winning them even into my 40s, and my wife I'd put them on the trophy. I call it a trophy, the mantle.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home from work and it'd be gone. And I asked my son, where'd your mother put that trophy? She put it in the crawl space in the basement. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Does she know what went into getting that thing? So anyway, let me get back on track here. We start the show every time, David, with the question, what are you made of?
I would say that I'm basically made up of liquid lightning tempered by heart and empathy. And for anyone listening to that, I go, how the hell do those things belong together? They belong together perfectly, because if I did not give a shit about others, I wouldn't lean in as much as I do when I'm actually helping my clients. I'll call them any time of day or night, whatever I need to do, because they're all in all these different time zones and shit. And I'm like, hey, did you do blah, 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 blah? And they're like, oh shit, I forgot that. So I lean in that much. That's the hard part. Now, for someone looking outside, looking, just saying, man, what is with him? It's like, he just doesn't, he's like a freaking relentless, like Energizer bunny. I'm like, yeah, that's the heart in action, but it's the fire to like not allow them to get away with doing things in a compromised state, doing things into an average standard. That lets everybody down. And the bottom line is it's a lie. Anybody that's pitching any of us saying, just look to be a moderate success. It's like, they are your freak. That's your enemy. It is not your ally.
Absolutely. And I noticed that you said liquid lightning instead of just lightning.
Right.
So why did you say liquid though? And by the way, this is an attention, guys, pay attention as I interview David here because he's very creative. I noticed that about him the first time I talked to him, and he's got an imagination and he uses that. And that's what's helped him get success. Well, I'm just speaking for you, but why did you say liquid?
Well, the reason I said liquid is because, well, then it could fit in a bottle.
Oh yeah, that's true. I guess so. Look like lightning in a bottle. Yeah, I never thought of that before.
And then I can cap it, you know, then I can brand it, then I can then it can fit on a shelf. And the great thing about liquid lightning is it doesn't have an expiration date. It does not require refrigeration, and it never and you can pass it along to others, and their lives will get better too.
Love it, man. I love it. All right, so David, take us back. Where did you grow up? Any catalytic moments as you were a kid, or stories from being a kid that kind of guided you to where you are today?
Well, Brooklyn, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens, then a little bit of Long Island, and I started my career in Manhattan.
Oh, that sounds like an LL Cool J song. I swear that sounds just like one of the verses in LL Cool J song. Represent Queens. She was raised in Brooklyn, something like that. For those hip hop fans back in the day, anyway.
Exactly.
So you're raised in the streets of New York, man. And look, man, it's totally different from where I grew up, man. I grew up in the country.
Oh, okay.
Outside of Philly, and then into the suburbs, and then out into the country. Totally different. So talk to us about that, growing up in the city.
Well, see, so it's interesting because now I live in a more sort of rural type setting, and because this is where my wife is from. What I always have to tell people when they say, "What's a New Yorker doing out here?" I tell them it's not part of a witness protection program. Okay. but the basic thing is for me, I loved, especially Brooklyn. I loved the melting pot. I mean, on my one block, I'd have Italian, Hungarian, Polish, black, white,
Latinos.
No, there were no Hispanics on my street anyway. On my street, we didn't have any, but we had all of these others, and that was just part of, like, you know, everyone came through Ellis Island, and Brooklyn was the place you went to, right? Mm-hmm. But no, I no Hispanics. I didn't know any in my neighborhood. Yeah. But it was definitely a total mix of different cultures, and there was that kind of rawness. But what I loved was if something happened, like let's say someone decided to pick on me, or I got into a fight, and word got and people heard around on the street, you know, we'd have a neighbor who was like, you know, down like 3 houses down, who would come over, knock, she'd go, "What happened with David?" And it's like, and it wouldn't be. It's very interesting today. If you hear that today, everyone's like, "Ooh, they're invading your privacy." Bullshit. This was a community. This was part of our extended family, and it was awesome. And so you had these kind of like adopted godparents and cousins and things of all that just were people who lived on your street. I loved that community element of Brooklyn. That was really rich to me. Queens, some of that, but different. But in Queens, there was more tension. There was more racial tension. We probably had about a 65% in my school, about 65% black, so 35% white, right? And it was like we got along well, and there were times when there was stuff. Wasn't a racial thing as much as just growing up. It was that age.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It wasn't. But I remember there were things that I learned that I could say, and learned things that I learned that I couldn't say, because there was now where you grew up. I have a question for you. Did you have this thing called, hey, like you would get into a rank, like you would rank each other out? Did you ever get into that, like that verbal battle?
Yeah. What do you mean? Like just busting on each other, so to speak?
Totally busting.
Yeah,
your mother.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So we had that. Well, I learned that there was like, you could talk about, well, you this and you that and you this and your mother that and your father that and but I made the mistake of going, because we kept on going back and forth at each other. This is just like the way we passed time. And I said, well, your grandmother. Well, I didn't realize that grandmas were off limits. And it was like, and that became that was a definite learning lesson. I was like, okay, if looks could kill, I would.
Well, when I was growing up, we didn't even get to that level. It was the mom, man. Like you couldn't do that. Like we'd get in the bathroom and there'd be a fight or something, and somebody would take a little piece of paper towel and they'd put it on the guy's shoulder, and the guy that was like talking shit to him would knock the paper towel off his shoulder and say, "He knocked your mom on the floor," and then they would go at it. So I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So, but a lot of lessons learned, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So where did you get your creativity from? Because you're very artistic, you're very imaginative. And that to me, from what I'm seeing, you could say something different, but I can see that that's where a lot of your success comes from, because so many people, I think we're all born creative, by the way, but I think some people just get so encrusted with normalcy, but yeah, talk about creativity.
Well, it's like for those that actually are seeing this, you could see this is part of my office that you see behind me, and a lot of this is artwork that I've done. See that painting right there?
Yeah,
George Harris did that when I was about 16 years old. I always loved art. I loved music. I loved the smell of food. I loved all that stuff. That was just part of what I grew up around. I did not have anybody around who was a good example of how to be a good entrepreneur. I had to learn on my own that one. I had to learn what worked in negotiations, what didn't work in negotiations, what the stupid stuff to fall for, because I think anybody new in business always falls for someone's going to say, "Hey, yeah, no, that's great, you could do that," but it's like, can you give me a better deal? We'll be doing a lot of work together. I fell for that like about 2 times, and because that all that work, it never came. Right. So I was like, that was just their way of negotiating. And I'm like, no, actually, but I could definitely charge it. Then at this point, someone tries that. I say, well, I can actually charge you double.
Yeah.
And so, but creativity wise, I was always defiant. I was always looking for the different. I just like the stuff that just, for me, it was like, it's stuff that awakened me. It's like if someone cooked something in a particular way and it smelled, you go, whoa, what was that? Or if someone, delivered, some great comedy and you go, that was freaking brilliant, how he connected those dots that no one saw coming, or an amazing musical performance, or going to galleries in New York City and seeing what an amazing piece of artwork or an incredible piece of sculpture. So I just dug stuff that made me stop in my tracks and just feel alive. I just love that. And that's the stuff that just is like going at the same pace and rhythm of everyday everything. That's a low bar. That serves nobody. And that's the thing that basically inspires me. It always cracks me up when my wife will watch me doodling while I'm talking to somebody, because I'll do these little doodles. Some people go, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Because to them, it looks like this little masterpiece of artwork. And to me, it's just my way of passing the time in an enjoyable way.
Yeah. And do you notice our perceptics, like paying attention to the smell you just said, right?
Yeah.
Listening to sound and really having an appreciation for it. Seeing color, like as soon as you came on, I was noticing your office. I see the hats back there, the color, right? And having an appreciation for that, but it wears off in a lot of cases for some people, right? And I don't know if it's you have to intentionally keep focused on having an appreciation for your perceptics, right? Whether it's smell, taste, and I don't know how many perceptics there are. There's probably a lot of them, but I'm not talking about just senses.
There's over 50. There's over 50
some. Yeah. So you think that's something that people have to work on and continue to, and we can move into the business with this, because I think a lot of businesses suffer from this, not just person.
Oh, without question. Why? I'll give you a perfect example. Why is it that you or I or anyone that's ever bought an iPhone and we get blown away when we slip off that case and that box is engineered flawlessly? The paper, the fit, and then you see the little plastic part on top of the top. It's like They didn't go to sleep. Too many people are doing stuff on autopilot today. Way too many people. It's like, oh, okay, the different day, same shit, different day, boom. And that's the thing. I don't like doing the same thing over and over. I hate just doing repetitive tasks. Yet some people, that's what they do. I mean, it's a choice. It would not be my choice. I wouldn't be good at it, and same thing over and over and over and over.
Static. And over. Yeah.
It would drive me nuts. Yeah.
So I have the saying, I was just saying this the other day in front of a group of people, like, I love variety. I get bored very easily. I need that variety, except for my wife. That's the only one thing. I need multiples and varieties of other things, but my wife is one thing I'm good with. Like,
but the thing is, I guaranteed, if you like variety, guaranteed your wife, the interactions in your discussions must be like, you might
dynamic.
Have your point, and you feed off of it.
Dynamic. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely, yeah. So take us through when you start with talking to a business. Let's say somebody calls you up and says, look, man, David, I need some help, man. I mean, I know we're missing the mark here. Yeah. I know we're missing the mark. Can you help us? And like, where do you start? Like, what's the first few steps? Don't give away all your secrets, but like, kind of take us through like how you view it.
No, it's perfect. Well, the first thing I say is, so let me ask you something. This is what I like. Let's say you were saying, I said, let me ask you something. So tell me why I, a prospective customer, should give a damn about your product or service. That's a very common question I will ask. And then I will get an answer. That answer might be 4 minutes long, 5 minutes long, might be 15 to 20 minutes long. And then when they're done, I thank them. And then I say, now let me ask you something. So why do I know that if I went to your competitors, they would pretty much tell me their version of what you just told me? Because I asked the question that I asked you, and everyone's going to be saying, well, we this, we that, we're the best, we're the greatest, we've been doing this for so long, we're in the USA, family owned, locally, grass-fed, non-GMO, freaking vegan, this and that. It's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? So all the places that they're talking about, all the things that they're raw, it's like, what people don't understand, entrepreneurs miss this all the time, is that we're in the business of disruption. It's like, how is a prospective customer going to come to a new conclusion if all we're presenting them is old information that they've heard 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times? We're doing it with our enthusiasm. We're doing it with all of it, but it's pretty much using the same words, the same promises, the same context, the same way you framed it. There's nothing different here. Right. And then people go, oh, I don't get it. You're not really hearing me. No. Your ability to communicate sucks. And from the standpoint of differentiating and branding, because branding, as I cover in my book, branding is the art of differentiation. All right. So we've got that. Good. So that's the first thing. The one, they've got to realize there's a problem. When I ask them that question and they do that, and then I ask them the next question that I told you, now all of a sudden they go, oh shit. Because they realize we do sound like everyone else. There isn't much of a distinction. Well, how hard do you think you have to sell if you're now walking in and you sound like the last company, you smell like the last company, you taste like the last company, you walk like the last company, you talk like the last company? How hard do you have to now sell to establish any point of difference in value and result? You got to work your ass off. So that's the first thing. It's really looking at that noise, that wall of noise that's known as your competition, because that is what your prospect is hearing, and that's what they know, and that has dictated your narrative, unless you redefine it and reframe it.
Yeah, I would have answered that question, Dave. Look, man, I don't want to bullshit you. I don't know. Hey, that's why I called you, because some people try to bullshit you, like, and then they end up sounding stupid anyway. Like I would just, if I'm calling you, man, I need help. Like I don't know what the hell the answer to the question is, man. But I know now, because like you said, with all the stuff, 24-hour news cycles, all the attention's going out there. Like you need to set a hook, right? You got to have they call it clickbait sometimes, but you got to back the clickbait up, or that's short lasting, right? So I guess, I mean, has there ever been a company that stumped you where you're just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think you got other problems besides just branding.
Oh, occasionally that happens. Occasionally, it's like, look, guys, you guys aren't executing on anything. It's like, okay, now you got the name, and now you get the brand, and now you get the look, and now you get the narrative, and you got all this stuff, and you're not in the ring doing the hustle. That's kind of like if I were to use this as an analogy, let's say someone was a boxer. Well, he's done all the training, he's freaking cut, and it's like, and he's got the perfect outfit and the perfect footwear, the foot gear, and the moves are good, and it's and the bell goes off, and he doesn't get in the ring. That's what some companies are doing every freaking day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that you're cut. If you're standing outside and you will not win. No matter how much you potentially can, because you now got everything you need, unless you're showing up, it's not going to happen. And that's basically what occurs with way too many companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and the way I see it, we have this, I think it's a cultural epidemic, which is like this little thing of entitlement. Well, we're working hard. Therefore, no, there is no business karma. It's like, yeah, you want to do good, but the idea that you are owed from the universe recognition, wealth, affluence, fame, followers, and all that kind of stuff, just because, well, we've paid our dues and we've done this and that. That's a Hollywood script, man. It's not real life. It's like, you know what? Everyone that I know, and I have a lot of A-listers in my corner. Whether you're talking Damon John, you're talking Claude Silver from VaynerMedia, you're talking Grant Cardone, any of these A-listers, none of them, you'd say, well, they're really wealthy. They don't have to work. Do I see any of them slowing down? Hell no. Do I see them leaning in more? Hell yes. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that's what it takes. If individuals at the top of the food chain are doing that, what do you think the rest of us need to do? So
you're creating an attraction model for people, right? It's creating an attraction model. They got to perform. And then you got people like Grant. You brought Grant's name up. Grant goes out and pretends that he doesn't have branding and pretends that he doesn't have stuff, and still is willing to hit the phone, still willing to grind and do all the stuff that you can get by with that stuff if you don't have branding too, by the way. But it's a lot of hard ass work. And it's like, as soon as you complete a deal, you got to go on to the next one and do it again.
That's the thing. It's like everything's a la carte. Boom, 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 boom. You don't have the compounding. You don't have the compounding factor that you do if you're aware as a brand. It will compound and compound and compound and compound. That's the difference.
Yeah. So one of the things I've been talking about myself, like I went on this journey because I've been trying to get known in this local market back in the day because we had a mortgage company and real estate and having seminars, doing all this stuff. And then I'm like, you know what? And I want to get your take on this. So I started thinking to myself, you know what? I'm playing way too small of a game here. Mm-hmm. Like I'm trying to get known in this local market. It's not even a real big metropolitan area, Ocean City, Maryland, the Delmarva region. It's not even that big of what am I doing? I had a wake up, like, what the heck? So I started thinking, I got to get known nationally.
Yeah.
Like if I get known nationally, this local market will take care of itself. Like it's just smaller, right? Nothing against the people. It's just smaller. Then I said to myself again, like, well, if I'm going to go that big, I might as well go global and figure out, even though I may not do business global, but get known that the rest will take care of itself. And then David, I said, if there's aliens, because I saw some talk about aliens in Congress or something. I don't even know if they're real or not, but I saw something about aliens and I'm like, well, I got to make sure they know me too, because know me and know what I do and never forget it and just beat it into them. Never forget it. Right.
Yeah.
So when I started doing that, when I wrote the book, the podcast, I started, if I'm going to do this, and like you said, showing up, I got to be able to be prepared to perform. And I started a media company, getting people on podcasts and shows and television and press. I can't do that for someone if they're not going to show up. And when they get that omnipresence, be able to keep that omnipresence. Right. So what are your thoughts on the big think? Like, is it, I guess the question would be, is it better to be omnipresent or have perfect branding? Assuming the work ethics there.
Omnipresent or better branding? Those are your two options?
I don't know. You give me the options then. But help me with the question.
Put it this way. Execution is always going to outperform execution is always going to outperform perfection. And you're hearing this from someone who really, I push perfection as hard and fast as I can. But there was something that Gary Vaynerchuk said a few years ago that really hit me. He goes, guys, what you're doing is you're sharing these micro moments and these things. They're not a $200 million summer blockbuster film that's got to, just where everything is just, it's like, put it in its right perspective, in its right context, and it'll be more important and more valuable to the people you serve and more valuable to you to get more content out. And I know that Grant is like, Grant is all about, it's like, it's a volume game. It's a volume game. And that's the advice he gave to Alex Hormozy. He said, Alex was like producing X amount per week. And he was like, dude, it's a volume game. You're like way, way under where you need to be. And so, so now Alex Hormozy like drops like freaking 80 freaking like pieces of content every freaking week. 80. That's I'm like,
well, but Dave, on that question, when you get to a certain level, is it good to kind of keep people wanting more of you instead of saturating it though?
That's a false notion. The idea, you can only saturate it if you are dull, if you're going on autopilot and you're like, and you got nothing new to say. And I compare it to this. I actually learned this because when I came out with my book, Brand Intervention, I realized, oh shit, I'm opening this door for people that don't know me. There are lots of people that know me, but there was lots more, way lots more that don't know me. I'm like, okay, I'm opening this door. If this is the first thing they hear, and I don't have like something that gives them a regular diet in terms of a presence, then I am actually, I'm shooting myself in my foot. Yeah, so yeah. I decided to come out. I did like 1 minute Wednesdays. I saw like every Wednesday. I started, and at first I thought, how am I going to first of all, how am I going to have great content in 1 minute that actually makes them feel like they got something? That became achievable really super fast. That was very easy to do. But the other part was, I was like, oh God, maybe after 10 or 15 of those, I'll have nothing more to say, right? That was a thought that I'd had. And I was like, all of a sudden, as soon as I got it out of my head, out of my system, it was like emptying a pitcher. All of a sudden, more water can now be put in that freaking pitcher.
Yeah,
as soon as I got it out, all of a sudden it was like the next chapter of awesomeness. Otherwise, we're like holding on. And it's interesting. I'm going to point this out. This was my realization. It's a scarcity mindset. If we're like, oh, maybe I should just do it in little bits and pieces so that way I don't blow my whole wad and this and that, the other. No, it actually is the opposite. And so, and it forces you to go, all right, I can't just be repeating the same old shit.
Yep. And do you spend a lot of time learning and searching for more things to understand and be able to bring to your audience?
Well, I do, but I also do it in a way that I find personally very efficient. I'm a very intent observer. So I don't let life just sort of automatically, I know we've all experienced this, like when you've driven in a car and you get to the destination and you realize, where the hell have I been for the last 25 minutes? Right?
Yep.
We've all experienced that, right? You go like, what the hell? Well, most people are living life that way.
Oh my God.
So the thing is that I'm a very intent observer. It's like, I used to daydream a lot when I was younger, but now I don't daydream very much. I life dream. So I like, oh, that would be awesome to do. And I freaking then execute. But that thing of, I'll look and people are always fascinated. It's like, wow, you haven't talked for a while. I am so active and so actively listening and watching and seeing what happens with this and what happens with that and what triggers that and what triggers that and what goes on and who left with something, who left with nothing. I'm always watching.
Do you take notes or put stuff in your phone or shoot a video right away, or do you just keep it up here?
If I can extract from that something that is valuable, so I kind of refer to them as kind of like, these are like, what's the underlying principle? Why did that happen? I don't write down anecdotes much, but I will say, oh, that was interesting. Like for example, With my masterclass that I put together, there was one thing that I incorporated into the masterclass because I found that it changed the way people learned. I have my masterclass: never learn for one, always learn for two. And when I tell people that, they're like, huh? And well, here's what I mean. Like if I say, all right, here's the thing, Mike. I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you something. And the next 30 minutes, you're going to learn and master how to do this so that you could do it. You would take it in a particular way. You'd assimilate it in a particular way. Now, if I say, all right, now, Mike, I'm going to teach you this thing. When you're done learning it, I want you to teach Sally over here how to do it. Your ownership of that information will be higher. Your accountability will be higher. You won't just be going through the motions. For me, you can't fake it at that point. You're like, you got to really know it if you're going to actually now be able to get another. So that one little principle, like I was listening to something and I was like, bam, that's the kind of thing you'll find in my little notes on my iPhone. I'm like, boom, never learn for one, always learn for two. And that's built into my masterclass every week.
Being able to disseminate what you're learning. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because I do it all the time. I think it really bores into you and it becomes part of you when you can teach it.
That's right.
Absolutely. I love that. So as we're winding down, tell us about your book. It's called Brand Intervention. It was a best-selling book. Can you show us it for the people watching the video?
Right there.
Brand.
Did you get your copy yet?
No, not yet. Did you send me
dude, what do I do? You have to give me your neighbor's. Phone number. I'm gonna call.
Maybe my wife has it upstairs or something. Who knows? She keeps the mail in piles sometimes. I go through the mail a lot.
This. Well, you saw.
Oh, I love this. I love what you showed me on the call. Yeah, show them on the video here.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how big the freaking people go nuts because people just love it because it's like it just cuts through the BS. I was sick and tired of books that made me read 300 pages and there was only 20 pages in the middle somewhere, buried somewhere, that had all the stuff that I wanted, and everything before it was preamble and everything after it was extraction. So I don't need that. I don't need that shit.
You made me feel so good, David, because look, my book had big writing, but not like yours. Like I thought mine had big writing. Maybe let me find some. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but like my words are pretty big, right?
Yeah.
Right? But you make me feel better. Like it feels bad now because I was like, man, I wrote a book, but the words are kind of not big words, but big font. and then you do your thing, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not the biggest writer in the world, the biggest font writer in the world, man. No, but I love it, and it gets attention. And it drives home a point without all the fluff.
That's the thing. Well, here. I mean, my most favorite chapter, to give you the perfect example. My most favorite chapter is chapter 26. And the reason is because it goes over good versus great. Right there. Good versus great. But here's what it's made up of 2 sentences, man. That's the entire chapter right there. Okay. And I'll tell you what it says. It says a good brand makes us feel good about what they stand for. A great brand makes us feel good about what we stand for. That's all you freaking need to know about that. That's it.
David just read a chapter of his book on my podcast, and the podcast is only about 35 minutes long. I mean, he just read a chapter of his book to us. That's right. I love it, man. Hey, Dave, look, man, I want to thank you for coming on here. You've been great. I think we got connected via LinkedIn, and after that one call, I'm like, I want to hang out with this guy. So where are you stationed, by the way, David?
About an hour east of Minneapolis, and we're in western Wisconsin, actually. Yeah.
Okay. And it gets cold in the wintertime there. So guys, if you go see David ever, just go in the winter, in the summertime. Anyway, thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you. If there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. We'll definitely be doing something together here in the future. And thank you, man. And where can they find the book, David?
Amazon. You can find Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, just like bang. It's just magic.
Awesome. You guys have been listening to the What Are You Made Of podcast with your boy, the unstoppable Mike C-Rock. And this guy right here, David, you got to give him the unstoppable belt. He earned that today. And I just love what he's doing. So thank you guys all for being here and listening. Thanks for all the support that you've given me. Go subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. And if you like watching these on YouTube, Mike C-Rock, you can look it up. And I'm there. Subscribe there. Watch us. And you'll see our handsome faces. Until next time, be unstoppable.